And now I have the great honor of introducing our keynote speaker, Valerie Jarrett, a highly influential leader in both the public and private sectors. She's been chairman of the Chicago Transit Board, the commissioner of planning and development for the city of Chicago, and deputy chief of staff for former Mayor Richard Daley. She also practiced law with 2 private law firms. Jarrett also served as a director of corporate and not-for-profit boards, including chairman of the board of the Chicago Stock Exchange, director of the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago, and chairman of the University of Chicago Medical Center Board of Trustees. Ms. Jarrett received her BA from Stanford University and her JD from the University of Michigan Law School. She is currently senior advisor to President Barack Obama and chair of the White House Council on Women and Girls. The council ensures that the needs of women and girls are recognized in every program, policy, and piece of legislation federal agencies implement. When President Obama created the council via a 2009 executive officer, he said the issues facing women today are not just women's issues. They affect all of us. I would add that gender equality in STEM is not just a women's issue. It affects all scientists and researchers. Incorporation of the gender dimension into research and innovation benefits both men and women, as we've said. Diversity in STEM begets innovation. It drives science forward and benefits society as a whole. Again, I want to thank every one of you for coming to Gender Summit 3. I look forward to our conversations and the commitments that will happen over the next few days. But now, please join me in a hearty welcome for our keynote speaker, Valerie Jarrett.
Well, thank you, Dr. Ward. Good morning, everyone. Welcome here. I'm just delighted to be with you this morning. I want to start by thanking your outstanding acting director, Dr. Cora Merritt, who I know couldn't be with us today, and her entire team at NSF. I was sorry to hear about Cora's loss, but I know that she knows that we are with her in spirit as she is with us. And to the former NSF directors, Rita Colwell and Subra Suresh, who I also understand are in the house today. Where are you all? I know you're here, right? Well, they're coming, so we'll give them a shout out too. We're delighted that they're going to be participating. And again, thanks to Dr. Wanda Ward and the International Planning Committee for working so hard to put together this very important event. So on behalf of President Obama and the White House Council on Women and Girls that I'm so honored to chair, I can't thank you enough for all you're doing. The President has been intent since day one in office to change the narrative in our country about who is supposed to be growing up dreaming of being a scientist or an astronaut or an engineer. It's a narrative which too often drives our little girls away from their basic passions in basic applied science. The truth is, of course, the girls like to get their hands dirty too. They like to solve problems, they like to build things, they like to roll up their sleeves and shape their own destinies. And as the father of 2 little girls, no one knows better than President Obama this fact. It's an honor to work for a president who actually gets it and who approaches issues affecting women and girls not just as the head of our government, but as a loving husband, as a son, as a grandson, and as a devoted father of 2 little girls. It doesn't hurt that his commute is just 2 minutes from the residence to the Oval Office, so he gets to go home regularly, almost every night for dinner. And he has absolutely prioritized the issues of women and girls. And you might say, well, why is it? Well, it's because he's outnumbered at the dinner table. 4 to 1 at least, oftentimes 5 to 1. Used to be just he and Bo, now he has Sonny to deal with as well, so believe me, he's outnumbered. And for all of us who are having the privilege to serve in his administration, And most everyone involved in this summit, I imagine, it is with our daughters and our sisters and our parents in mind that we commit to making sure that women can follow their passions into the STEM fields. And we don't just do this because it's the right thing to do. And we don't just do it because we know that the president has deemed it a priority, though it is, and he has. We do it because we believe in the power of women to unlock the full potential of our economy, as Dr. Ward said in her introduction. This is more than just being about women. It's about our society. We want to champion innovation and expand the capacity for discovery. And to do that, everyone has to be involved. And we're here to ensure that our girls and women are in a position to lead in the future. And as the president has put it, and I'll quote him, "When women succeed, nations are safer, more secure, and more prosperous." And that's why we are so committed to engaging young women in STEM education and the promotion of a rich culture of mentorship between women and the STEM field and the young women and girls so that they can dream big dreams. I think most of the women here today know how challenging and even lonely it can feel at times to work in a male-dominated field. You certainly don't have to tell me about that. It's true. But again, I'm lucky to have a boss and many, many talented women who surround him, with whom I have the privilege of working every day. But the political world in general could use a little bit more of a women's touch. We often say that if there were more women in Congress, just imagine what we could get done. So, yeah, exactly. So let's talk today about some of the obstacles facing women who want to enter into the STEM field and the work that we are all doing to try to overcome those obstacles. As school budgets around our country tighten, President Obama is doing all that he can to stem the urge of local government and school districts to pare back on STEM courses. That was kind of a joke. Okay. And not just because science classes are cool, but to ensure that our young people are fully prepared to compete for jobs of the future and lead the global economy. The president's $4.35 billion race to the top competition, for instance, focused not only on encouraging states to develop strategies for improving achievement in curriculum and STEM subjects, but also on broadening the participation of women and girls. Fund seekers received competitive preference if they demonstrated efforts to address barriers to STEM careers for girls and underrepresented groups in their applications. This was our way of putting our finger on the scale for girls. This is one of those lines in the federal policy that can seem so minor here in DC, where billions of dollars get thrown around all the time, but which can make an enormous difference for millions of young scientists and engineers and innovators who may have otherwise missed their calling. We have welcomed several of these young minds to the White House over the past 5 years. In 2011, I will always remember, we met the winners of the Google International Science Fair competition. 10,000 children from 91 countries competed in the contest. And wouldn't you know it, all 3 winners were girls from the United States. Now that's pretty cool. And they came in the Oval Office and tried to present to the president, and I say tried because they did a perfectly good job, tried to present to the president in a way he could understand what they had invented. And he pretended like he understood what they were saying. None of us had any idea what they were talking about, but we knew that they were awfully smart, and the fact that he made spending some time with them a priority is an experience I know that they will never forget. We have also instituted one of the other really cool traditions at the White House, and that's a science fair, where a handful of our young scientists and inventors come to the White House and show off their stuff for the president and his team. And if you haven't seen footage of this, I suggest you go online and check it out. It's just amazing. And to be clear, we're not talking about the baking soda volcanoes or the erector sets that I remember from when I was in high school, or the rocket ship I built that actually never did quite take off. But we're talking about amazing programming video games from scratch and literally developing breakthroughs for the diagnosis of cancer. Very impressive stuff from young women, and that's why we want to have them at the White House to showcase them and encourage them. At our first fair in 2009, the President also launched a new initiative called Educate to Innovate, which mobilizes hundreds of the nation's leading CEOs from around the country to invest time and resources in improving the country's STEM education and infrastructure, preparing 100,000 new STEM teachers in the next 10 years, because we need more teachers in the classroom, and diversifying our STEM talent pool, specifically with more women and girls. All of this with the aim of moving American students from the middle of the pack globally to the head of the pack for science and math achievement within the next 10 years. The U.S.-led Equal Futures Partnership is another initiative put in place at the end of last year to engage leaders from now 24 countries and counting to remove barriers for women's economic success. The United States has made very specific commitments on the global stage to facilitate the entry of more women into high-paying STEM fields. Ensuring women have access to careers in STEM is essential, but as important is access in improving women and girls' line of sight into these professions and their connection to relatable role models that will make such a difference in the STEM field. Now, I grew up surrounded by scientists. I was very lucky, and I was immersed in the world of science and medicine, attending the laboratory school at the University of Chicago and working in my father's lab. My dad was a physician, and I spent so much time watching him work and helping him with research projects as I grew older. In fact, my very first summer job was as a clinic coordinator at the University of Chicago Hospital. And I actually started college, pre-med, intending to follow in my father's footsteps. And if it hadn't been for that first class where I had to view a cadaver in the anatomy class, some of you may have been there, my sophomore year, I remember it vividly, I may have pursued his career and followed in his footsteps. My path led me on a slightly different direction, but I did become the chair of the board of the University of Chicago Medical Center, and in a way became my dad's boss, as he liked to often tease me. But my point is that role models matter. Encouragement matters. My father didn't have a son, but he always believed that his daughter could do anything he could do, and actually better. But for those of us who don't have that advantage, the Obama administration is working hard to foster a culture of mentorship throughout the government, the private sector as well, and many of you are partners in that effort. The federal government's Office of Personnel Management has issued guidance and provides training to all agencies on how to encourage and train the collective 200,000 federal STEM employees to serve as mentors. At the Department of Energy, their Women in STEM mentoring program pairs women undergraduates studying in science and engineering or math in the DC area with women in those fields at the Department of Energy. And among the qualifications for recipients of the annual Presidential Award of Excellence in Science and Math and Engineering mentorship is success in engaging underrepresented groups, including girls, in these technical fields. That is not to mention that the President's appointment of several top-flight women in his cabinet also make a huge difference in science and technology efforts. The Department of Interior has Secretary Sally Jewell, who's a mechanical engineer. DARPA Director Arieta Prabara also has an engineering degree. Our EPA Administrator Gina McCarthy is an environmental health and air quality expert, and Pat Falcon from our Office of Science and Technology Policy at the White House, who I believe you're going to hear from a little later on today, and of course, your very own Cora. So these are women at the pinnacle of their field who have chosen service and who serve as extraordinarily powerful role models to girls all around the country. One of my very good friends and vice chairman of the President's Export Council always reminds me of the power of STEM education and the innovation it often stirs. Ursula Burns grew up in New York in a housing project. She showed an early aptitude for math and science, and she worked really hard, and she made her way to a summer internship program in mechanical engineering at Xerox. Before that, she had absolutely no idea what her aptitude might translate into. This led to jobs in product development and in planning, and as I know many of you know, today this former engineering intern is the chairman and CEO of Xerox, a multinational company, 131 on the Fortune 500 list. So when I see little girls at these science fairs and at events around the country, or simply headed to school down the street from my house, interning at the White House and around our various laboratories at the federal government, I see Ursula, I see Cora, I see Pat. I picture their little hands shooting up in class and the look that must have been in their eyes the first time they watched a chemical reaction, or saw a cell divide under a microscope lens, or operated a robotic arm. That spark in their eyes becomes a fire in their bellies, ones which once lit will never go out if we don't let it. So as the economy continues to recover, and it is, as we continue to see growth and investment here in the United States, and as we step further into a century that will be defined by technology and untold environmental and health challenges and innovation for which we are recognized the world over, we will depend on that spark and the fire of our young women to light our future. Their dreams will become a reality with your help. And so I want to thank you so much for welcoming me here today and for all that you do. I cannot wait to see what comes out of this extremely important summit. Thank you very much, everyone.
Well, we're delighted. I'm sure all of you greatly appreciated Valerie Jarrett's remarks and encouragement for us to keep up the good fight, if you will.